Picture this, you meet a senior who's so calm it's almost contagious. Their warm grin melts your worries. Their home feels like a cozy hideaway. And they've got this knack for brewing tea and spinning tales like time's no big deal. I've hung out with these cheerful, wise folks all over the country, soaking up how they live so peacefully. Their secrets? No highfalutin tricks or brain-bending ideas. Just easy, everyday habits that keep them chill and their days smooth. Today, I'm spilling 14 of their down-to-earth gems. These calm champs rely on simple moves that quietly work wonders. Let's start with my top pick. 1. Start the day with stillness. Want to know the simplest, most down-to-earth way to carry a sense of peace through your entire day? It's all about carving out a few quiet minutes in the morning before the world kicks into gear. That's it. No frantic rushing. No blaring noise. Just you. A little space. And a chance to take a deep breath. Think of it as your secret weapon against the hustle and bustle that's bound to come later. Why does this work so beautifully? Because those first moments set the tone. Like tuning a radio to a calm, clear station. When you start your day steady and grounded, the inevitable chaos, whether it's a spilled mug or a noisy neighbor, doesn't shake you quite as much. It's like building a little shield of tranquility that sticks with you, no matter what the day throws your way. For some folks, this stillness looks like sipping a steaming cup of coffee on the porch, the air cool and crisp, while the sunrise paints the sky in soft pinks and oranges. Others might settle into a favorite chair with a journal, scribbling a few thoughts as the house hums with early quiet. And then there are those who just sit, eyes closed, listening to the birds chirp their morning hellos outside the window. It doesn't have to be fancy or complicated. Peace doesn't need a rule book. It's about what feels right for you. What gives you that moment to just be? Take Ellen, for instance, who's been perfecting this habit in her cozy Seattle home for years. I take 10 minutes with my tea every morning, she says, her voice warm with the kind of wisdom that comes from living it. No radio blasting the news. No phone buzzing with texts. Just me and the quiet. It's like a reset button for my soul. A little gift I give myself before the day starts pulling me in a dozen directions. Ellen's onto something special here. Those few minutes aren't just a pause, they're a way to anchor herself, to step into the day with a clear head and a light heart. It's so simple, yet it changes everything. Proof that peace doesn't need to be loud or showy to make a big difference. So tomorrow, why not try it? Grab your coffee, find your spot, and let the stillness work its magic. 2. Let go of small worries. Here's a clever little habit I've picked up from watching peaceful seniors. They simply don't sweat the small stuff. You won't catch them wringing their hands over a spilled glass of water or pacing the floor because the bus is running 5 minutes late. Instead, they give a little shrug, maybe a quiet chuckle, and carry on with their day. It's not that they don't notice these hiccups. They just choose not to let them stick. Why does this work so well? Because letting go of those petty frustrations keeps their energy in the bank for the things that actually matter. Like enjoying a sunny afternoon or sharing a laugh with a friend. Picture this, instead of lugging around every tiny annoyance like a heavy backpack, they set it down and walk away lighter. Doesn't that sound nice? Leaving the day's little messes behind you instead of letting them pile up in your mind. Take Henry, for example. A spry soul from Atlanta who's mastered this art over the years. I used to fuss over every little thing, he says with a chuckle that crinkles his eyes. A late delivery, a spot on my shirt, I'd stew over it all day. Now, if the mail's late, I just say, oh well, and head out to tend my garden. The tomatoes don't care if the postman's tardy. And frankly, neither do I anymore. Life's too short for extra wrinkles. Henry's got it figured out. That oh well isn't just a phrase. It's a choice. A gentle way of saying no to stress that doesn't deserve his time. It's not about ignoring life's bumps, it's about picking which ones are worth the ride. By letting the small stuff slide, he keeps his peace intact. And that garden of his? It's thriving. Proof that energy saved is energy well spent. 3. Tend to one joyful task. You don't need a jam-packed calendar bursting with to-dos to feel like your day's worth something. The calmest seniors I've come across have a simpler trick up their sleeves. They pick just one thing they love each day and give it a little bit of their heart. That's all it takes. No grand plans or exhausting checklists. Just a single, happy task to sink into. Why does this habit work so well? Because it keeps joy right within arm's reach without tipping them over into overwhelm. It's like adding a sprinkle of sweetness to their day. Enough to savor. Not so much it weighs them down. For some, it might be watering their plants, watching those green leaves perk up under the gentle stream. Others might sit with a ball of yarn, knitting a few rows while the world hums along outside. Or maybe it's baking a batch of cookies to slip onto a neighbor's doorstep. The kind of small kindness that warms everyone involved. Take Clara, for instance, who's got this down to an art in her sunny Tucson kitchen. I bake bread every Tuesday, she says, her voice carrying the quiet pride of someone who's found her rhythm. It's not much, just a loaf or two, but kneading that dough feels so good under my hands. Steady and alive. And oh, that smell. It drifts through my home, wrapping everything in happiness. That's enough for me. No fuss, no rush. Just a little piece of joy I can count on. Clara's not chasing a big, flashy life. That bread's her anchor. A simple ritual that fills her space with warmth and her heart with contentment. It's proof you don't need to do it all. Just one thing you love can carry you through. By tending to that single task, these seniors keep their days light and their spirits high. One joyful moment at a time. 4. Stay connected with loved ones. Here's a sweet, heartwarming secret to peace that these seniors hold close. They carve out little moments to stay tied to the people they care about most. It's not about planning some big, elaborate get-together that takes weeks to pull off. Just a quick, simple gesture that says, "You're on my mind." Maybe it's picking up the phone for a short chat or tossing a friendly wave over the fence to a neighbor. That's all it takes. Nothing fancy. But oh, does it matter? Connection is the quiet magic here because it wraps them in a warm reminder that they're not out there on their own. It's like a soft thread stitching their days together with love and belonging, keeping loneliness at bay and their spirits lifted. When they hear a familiar voice or catch a smile returned, it's a small spark that keeps their hearts steady, no matter what else the day brings. Take George, for example, who's found his own little way to keep this habit alive from his home in Boise. "I call my daughter every afternoon," he says, his tone bright with the comfort of routine. 5 minutes. That's all it takes. Hearing her laugh over the line, it keeps me steady, like the world's still right side up. And she tells me it brightens her day too. So we're both winning. George isn't chasing hours-long visits or grand reunions, those 5 minutes are his gold. A tiny bridge between them that keeps the peace flowing both ways. It's a beautiful, simple truth. Staying connected doesn't need to be big to feel big. These seniors show us that a quick call or a shared hello can be enough to anchor a day in warmth and togetherness. Now that we've covered these foundation habits, stillness, letting go, joyful tasks, and connection, let's look at how peaceful seniors build their days to stay calm and present, weaving these threads into a life that feels good. 5. Keep a simple routine. The secret to a peaceful life often hides in something so ordinary you might overlook it, a steady rhythm you can lean on day after day. The most serene seniors I've met don't juggle chaotic schedules or rigid to-do lists. They follow a loose, easy daily pattern that acts like a gentle guide. Not some bossy rule book barking orders. It's a soft framework, a comforting beat that keeps their days humming along without stress. Why does this work so well? Because it sweeps away that exhausting decision fatigue. You know, that nagging "what's next?" feelings that can tangle up your mind. With a simple routine, there's less wandering and more just being, letting them sink into the moment instead of fretting about what's around the corner. Picture it: coffee at 8, a short walk at 9, maybe some reading at noon. Nothing complicated, just a handful of stepping stones to carry them through. Take Rose, for instance, who's found her peace in this approach from her quiet Portland home. My days have a flow, she says, her voice calm and sure, like someone who's cracked the code to contentment. Nothing fancy, just little anchors that keep me from drifting into worry. I pour my coffee when the clock strikes 8, step outside for a bit of air at 9, and by noon I'm curled up with a book. It's not about rules, it's about knowing what's coming so I can enjoy it. Rose isn't chasing perfection or piling her days with busy work. Those little anchors, coffee, a walk, a story, are her quiet companions, keeping her steady when life could so easily pull her into a whirlwind of what-ifs. It's a beautiful thing. Really, a routine doesn't have to be strict to be strong. By keeping it simple, these seniors build a peaceful life, one predictable, pleasant moment at a time. 6. Move a little every day. Ever notice how the calmest folks you meet never seem locked up tight or fidgety, like they're stuck in their own skin? That's because smart seniors have a knack for weaving a bit of gentle movement into their days. Not running marathons or chasing fitness trophies, just enough motion to feel good and keep the cobwebs away. It's not about breaking a sweat or proving a point, it's about that sweet, easy flow that keeps them loose and light. Why does movement matter so much? Because it's like a quiet cheerleader for your mood, lifting you up when the day feels heavy, and it melts away tension before it can settle into your bones. We're talking simple stuff here. A stretch by the window with the morning sun spilling in, a slow stroll to the mailbox to see what's arrived, or even a little sway to an old tune that takes you back. Every bit counts. No fancy equipment required. Take Frank, for example, who's turned this into his own little ritual in his Cleveland kitchen. I sway to Sinatra while I cook, he says with a grin that could light up the room. Just me, a spatula, and fly me to the moon. It keeps my knees happy and my heart humming along. I'm no dancer, but it feels good to move with the music. Frank's not out to win any awards or clock miles, he's just stirring soup and letting old blue eyes lead the way. That gentle sway keeps him limber, sure, but it's more than that. It's a spark of joy, a way to shake off the stiffness of sitting too long and let his spirit dance a little. These seniors show us movement doesn't have to be big to work wonders. A stretch, a step, a sway. It's all enough to keep the calm flowing and the day feeling right. 7. Savor small moments. Here's something that might catch you off guard. Peaceful seniors aren't out there chasing wild, heart-pounding thrills like some Hollywood adventure. Nope, they've got a gentler way. They treasure the little bits of magic sprinkled through their days. Think of a warm breeze rustling the curtains, the cozy weight of a good book in their hands, or the goofy sight of a neighbor's dog wagging its tail like it's auditioning for the happiest pup on the block. These are their daily delights, the quiet gems they collect without fanfare. Why does this work so well? Because pausing to notice these small joys keeps gratitude bubbling up, fresh and alive, like a spring that never runs dry. It's not about waiting for a big win or a grand event to feel good. It's finding the sweetness in what's already there, keeping their hearts full without the chase. Take Leela, for instance, who's turned this into her own morning ritual in Charlotte. I watch the squirrels chase each other every morning, she says, her voice twinkling with delight. They dart up the oak tree, tumble over each other. It's free entertainment, right outside my window. It reminds me life's still playful, even on the great days. Lila's not booking tickets to some fancy show or hunting for excitement, she's just sipping her coffee, peering out at those bushy-tailed acrobats, and letting the moment sink in. That simple sight, squirrels being squirrels, lifts her up. A tiny burst of wonder that says the world's still got some fun in it. These seniors show us you don't need fireworks to feel alive. A breeze, a page, a wagging tail can do the trick. By savoring these small moments, they keep gratitude close, weaving a peaceful life out of the everyday beauty that's easy to miss if you're always looking for something bigger. 8. Limit the noise. Want to know another clever trick these seniors use to keep their calm intact? They're pros at keeping the clamor at bay, like gatekeepers of their own peace. You won't find their TVs blaring loud commercials or their phones pinging with endless alerts from dawn to dusk. They pick quiet over chaos every time. It's a deliberate choice. A way to dial down the racket and let their minds breathe. Why does this work so well? Because less noise clears out the mental clutter, leaving more room for thoughts to settle and flow, sharp and steady. Imagine not having that constant buzz, like a swarm of bees in your ears, drowning out your ability to just think. Try it. Flip off the news after 15 minutes when the headlines start repeating. Or hush those phone notifications for an hour and feel the difference. It's like opening a window to let the stuffy air out and the calm rush in. Take Paul, for instance, who's made this swap a cornerstone of his evenings in Omaha. I stopped watching the evening news, he says, his tone carrying the relief of a man who's found his footing. All that shouting about the world's woes, it was too much. Now I read a mystery novel instead. Way less noise, way more peace. I'd rather puzzle out a whodunit than listen to anchors yell. Paul's not missing out, he's trading chaos for calm. Curling up with a book that pulls him in without raising its voice. It's a small shift with a big payoff. Silence becomes his ally, letting his mind unwind instead of wind up. These seniors prove you don't need to drown in the dazed to stay connected. A little quiet goes a long way. 9. Nurture a corner of beauty. Have you ever stepped into a peaceful home and noticed how there's always one little spot that feels extra special? Like it's glowing with care? These seniors have a quiet habit of tending to something lovely. A flower pot brimming with color. A bird feeder buzzing with feathered visitors. Or a framed photo that holds a memory close. It's not about turning their whole place into a museum of perfection, it's just one small nook they've claimed as their own slice of beauty. Why does this matter so much? Because that touch of loveliness lifts their spirit every single time their eyes land on it. Like a gentle nudge that says, hey, life's still got some shine. It's not loud or showy, just a steady, soft glow that brightens their day without any fuss. Whether it's the cheerful bob of petals, the chirp of a sparrow, or the faded smile in an old picture, it's a tiny anchor of joy they can count on. Take June, for example, who's made this her own little ritual in her Savannah home. I keep a vase of daisies on my table, she shares, her voice warm with the kind of contentment that comes from small things done right. They're simple, nothing fancy. Just white and yellow faces nodding at me. But they make me smile every time I walk by. Whether I'm carrying laundry or just passing through. It's like they're saying hello. June's not out to impress anyone with her daisies, they're her quiet companions. A splash of brightness that catches her eye and lifts her heart. These seniors show us beauty doesn't need to be big to work its magic. One flower pot, one feeder, one photo can transform a corner into a haven. By nurturing that little spot, they keep their spirits high and their homes peaceful. One glance at a time. 10. Give a little every day. The calmest seniors I've met have a beautiful way of finding peace. They share it with others, sprinkling it around like seeds in a garden. It's not about big, showy acts that demand a spotlight. Just tiny, heartfelt gifts that ripple out quietly. A kind word tossed over the fence. A warm baked treat slipped onto a doorstep. A helping hand offered without a second thought. These are their currency of calm. Why does giving work such wonders? Because it ties them to the people around them, weaving a web of connection that feels good down to their bones. It's not just about making someone else's day brighter, it's the glow that bounces back, lighting up their own hearts too. picture it, a quick compliment. A plate of muffins. A moment to hold a door. Small stuff that says, "I see you," and leaves everyone softer for it. Take Sam, for instance, who's turned this into his own gentle habit in Raleigh. "I leave extra tomatoes from my garden on my neighbor's porch," he says, his voice steady with the satisfaction of a job well done. They're just sitting there, red and ripe, so why not? Seeing her grin through the window when she spots them. That's my piece right there. Plain and simple. Sam's not throwing lavish parties or writing checks, he's just sharing what he's got. A little piece of his garden's bounty. That grin he catches. It's his reward. A quiet exchange that warms his day as much as hers. These seniors show us peace isn't something you hoard, it grows when you give it away. A word. A treat. A hand. It doesn't take much to spark that connection. By giving a little every day, they keep their calm alive, rooted in the simple joy of lifting someone else up. 11. Wind down with intention. Smart seniors have a little trick up their sleeves when it's time to call it a night. They don't just flop into bed like a sack of potatoes after a long day. Instead, they ease into the evening with purpose, taking a few precious minutes to reflect or relax, letting their minds soften and settle. It's a gentle unwind, a way to smooth out the edges so they're not left tossing and turning over the day's leftovers. Those nagging thoughts about a forgotten errand or a conversation that didn't sit right. Why does this work? Because it draws a line in the sand. A quiet signal that the day is done and rest is welcome. For some, it's brewing a cup of chamomile tea, the steam curling up like a warm hug. Others might grab a notepad and jot down tomorrow's to-dos, clearing their head so it's not buzzing when the lights go out. Take Dorothy, for example, who's turned this into her nightly ritual in Milwaukee. "I sit with a candle for 10 minutes before bed," she says, her voice calm and sure, like someone who's found the key to a good night's sleep. "Just me and that little flicker. It's my way of telling the day, we are done." I watch the flame, let my thoughts drift, and it works like a charm every time. Dorothy's not rushing to bed or letting the day's noise follow her under the covers. That candle's her companion. A soft glow that says it's time to let go, to breathe out whatever's lingering. These seniors know crashing into sleep doesn't cut it. A mindful wind down keeps the restlessness away. Whether it's tea, a list, or a flame, those few minutes of intention pave the way for peace. Closing the day with a whisper instead of a wrestle. 12. Laugh at least once. Ever notice how the most peaceful folks you meet always seem to carry a little twinkle in their eye? Like they're in on a secret joke? That's because they make sure to carve out space for a good chuckle every single day. No exceptions. It's not about forcing it, just letting a bit of lightness sneak in wherever it can. Why does laughter work its magic so well? Because it's like a broom for the soul, sweeping stress right out the door with a force nothing else can match. It shakes off the weight of a long day, loosens up the tightness in your chest, and leaves you feeling like you can breathe again. The source doesn't matter much. It's all fair game. Maybe it's a funny show on TV, the kind that has you snorting at a punchline you didn't see coming. Or perhaps it's a silly memory that pops up, like that time you tripped over nothing and still laugh about it. Even a quick joke swapped with a friend over coffee can do the trick. Take Betty, for instance, who's got this down to a science in her Phoenix home. "My grandson tells me terrible puns," she says, laughing so hard you can hear the joy spilling out. They're awful, groan-worthy stuff like "Why don't skeletons fight each other?" They don't have the guts, but they crack me up every time he calls. I can't help it. Betty's not hunting for comedy gold. Those cheesy lines from her grandson are enough to set her off. A burst of giggles that washes away whatever's been piling up. These seniors show us peace isn't always quiet. Sometimes it's loud and silly. A show, a memory, a pun. It doesn't take much. By laughing at least once a day, They keep stress on the run and that twinkle shining bright. 13. Say no without guilt. Ever thought something as small as a single word could unlock a whole lot of peace? These seniors have figured it out. They guard their calm like a treasure by saying no whenever they need to. No apologies required. It's not about being rude or shutting people out, it's pure self-respect. A quiet stand for what keeps them steady. They've learned that letting every request or invitation pile up is a fast track to frazzled nerves. So they pick and choose with care. Why does this work so well? Because it keeps their days theirs. Not handed over to someone else's agenda or a guilt trip they don't deserve. Saying no isn't a wall, it's a gate. Letting in what lifts them up and keeping out what drags them down. Imagine not feeling obligated to say yes to every favor, every event, every you should that comes your way. Suddenly, your time's your own again. Free for what really matters to you. Take Martha, for example, who's turned this into her own golden rule in Denver. I stopped joining every club, she says, her voice firm with the confidence of someone who's taken the reins back. I used to say yes to everything. Book groups, bake sales, you name it, till I was running on empty. Now I say no to what drains me and yes to what fills me up. Like a quiet hike or coffee with a real friend. Best decision ever. Martha's not being standoffish, she's just done stretching herself thin for things that don't spark joy. That no is her shield. Her way of keeping her calm intact instead of letting it slip through her fingers. These seniors prove peace isn't about pleasing everyone. It's about honoring yourself. One little word can set you free. Keeping your days yours and your heart light. 14. End with gratitude. The wisest seniors have a gentle way of tying up their days. Like putting a bow on a gift, they wrap it up with a single thankful thought. It's not a big production or a long-winded list. Just a quick second to name something good that happened. Something worth a nod. That's it. Simple as that. But oh, what a difference it makes. Why does gratitude work its quiet magic? Because it flips the script, shifting your focus from whatever went sideways. What's wrong? What's missing? To the little things that went right. The ones that deserve a spotlight. It's like turning the dial from static to a clear, sweet note. Letting you drift off with a lighter heart instead of stewing over the day's hiccups. It doesn't have to be profound. Sometimes it's the smallest stuff that shines brightest when you stop to see it. Take Tom, for instance, who's made this his bedtime habit in Nashville. Before I turn out the light, I think of one thing I'm grateful for, he says, his voice steady with the calm of someone who's found a keeper. Last night, it was my comfy slippers. Those old things hugged my feet just right after a long day. Keeps my heart happy. Simple as that. Tom's not reaching for the stars here, he's not thanking the universe for some grand prize. It's just slippers. Soft. Worn in. And there when he needed them. That's enough to send him off to sleep with a smile. Not a frown. These seniors show us gratitude isn't about forcing cheer or digging deep. It's a quick pause to tip your hat to what's good. A warm meal. A kind word. A cozy pair of slippers. One thankful thought can nudge the day's end into peace. Keeping your focus on the right instead of the wreckage. Your road to a peaceful life is yours to wander. But these easy habits are like lanterns glowing in the dark, guiding you along. It's not about nailing some perfect score. It's about snagging calm right in your daily mess. Kick off small. Maybe a hushed morning with your coffee or a quick giggle over something silly. And grow from there. Before long, peace will feel like that cozy pal you've known forever. Drop your top habit in the comments and subscribe for more down-to-earth tips. Cheers to your chill, joyful days.